and it was like the earth, and I felt a part of the earth. It was like love and people, and I felt as if I was oneness with them. I am not the same person that entered into that surgery.
Hello, kia ora, welcome back. This is the Let's Talk Near Death podcast. Today I'm chatting with Jeneth Blackert. She had a life-altering experience after surgery where she believes she came back as a walk-in. Now this topic fascinates me so much. A walk-in is where one soul leaves the body, another one comes in to fulfill the rest of the life. So many interesting things we're going to talk about today. Jeneth is all about living with spiritual wisdom, practical tools for living, leading from the soul. She's about living with purpose, aligned to our purpose, channeling abilities, all of these good things. I'm excited to get into this conversation. So Jeneth, welcome along. It's great to have you here.
Kirsty, I'm so glad to be here.
Now, I know we're going to get into some juicy stuff. I can feel it. I told yours before we started recording. I'm very excited. Where do we begin with your story? Where do we begin with such a large conversation?
Yeah, well, let me just set the stage of who I was before I walked in. I was extremely depressed. I was extremely anxious, so anxious that the Christmas before, I was shaking when we were doing Christmas shopping because there were so many people around us. And I almost had to pass out, I faked passing out because I just needed to sit and breathe. And I remember doing this, and my son was relatively young, and I was embarrassed that I had this like almost social anxiety panic attack. I was like such a strong empath that I just almost couldn't handle people at all. So I had this severe depression. I had this dead end job. And I was struggling. I was struggling to take care of this little boy. I was struggling to like pay my car payment, the whole shebang. And I still like wanted to do these things in my life to make myself better. So after I had a baby and did a lot of breastfeeding, I really felt like, gosh, I want a breast augmentation. And I mean, that would make me feel better about myself. And at the time, I was just looking for like any little thing that would make me feel better about myself.
Mm.
So that April, it was April the 8th, 2005, I scheduled a breast surgery, and it turned out in a way that I could have never expected. We went into the surgery room, and I was not scared, and nor was I scared of death. In fact, in the back of my mind, I was very much like, well, if I would die under anesthesia, that would be fine. That would be my best way out. I wasn't suicidal, but there was kind of this like lackluster living that I had. And I guess I thought, a reboot would be okay. And I really got that accidentally. So during the surgery, everything went fine per the surgeon. And I came out of it, and I was not the same person that went into it. It's almost that I saw pictures of what the previous person's life was like, and I could sync up a little bit. After that surgery, I was really down and out on a lot of drugs for a week. So my husband just kept saying, I'm different. I have had a glimpse of the field, and he's kind of just blowing this off. And I said, I need you to know that I'm not the same person. And I kept saying that to him until finally he was just like, honey, you're just on a lot of drugs. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm like, then I came back and I understood things that I didn't understand before. I was living such a 3D life that I mean, I just thought everyone lived this 3D life, right? And then I came out of it and I had this awareness of, wow, we are living almost a simulation or a holographic life. And it was as if I was like, huh, I don't have to struggle in the way was struggling. I don't have to choose this depression. That's a life experience. These were the things that were coming through to me that I had choice around them, where before the surgery, I had no choice. So that's kind of how the entry started. And it just slowly started coming out. And I slowly started to seek more information because I didn't know what an entity was. I guess I didn't even think. I just thought your soul is in your body. So that's cool, right? Like you're just stuck together almost. I guess I didn't realize that I actually had an entity that ran this body, right? This physical form. I never, like, that was a place I just didn't go. I was just trying to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So it went from me like wanting to pay my bills to, wow, this is a really magical world. And once I did start to detox off these meds, I really began to go, I'm in love with life.
Mm.
Yes, I'm struggling, but in a way, look at all the beauty around us. And it was like the earth, and I felt a part of the earth. And it was like love and people. And I felt as if I was oneness with them, even in the turmoil. It was just like interesting. You're this holograph that is acting up towards me. You are reacting towards me. And then I started doing some trainings around this. And I went to this group called Access Consciousness that taught me about entities. They actually have a whole program that's like talk to the entities. And I learned all this weird stuff. So that was the basic gist of the story. I started navigating what is my life like as a fifth dimensional being instead of this like 3D person. Some of the glimpses that I had when I woke up from that surgery was, stuff I live by now. And people can roll their eyes at me or whatever, but it has made my life really worth living. And now it's almost making it so that I really matter to other people too, because I'm helping them understand how they can navigate, how they can manifest from the field, how they can change those neurosynapses in their mind that they've put in and locked in as they're not good enough, they're not worthy enough, and things like that. But some of the glimpses that I had when I came out of the surgery, and it wasn't like I've heard stories where people do actually go up and meet Jesus and the whole shebang. But really, what I had instead was this one, I am not the same person that entered into that surgery. It was that I felt almost like it could have been you, right? That like entered my body. It literally was that. There's no doubt in my mind. I didn't know what a walk-in was. That was a word that once I did some work and some reading about this, learned, okay, that is what happened.
Mm.
But
So,
yeah,
sorry, can
so
I just jump in there? Yeah.
sure,
So
anywhere.
just for the clarity of our listeners, who maybe don't have much understanding of the walk-in concept because it's not something we
Hmm.
talk about a whole lot,
Yeah,
can you just give us the basic rundown on your perspective of a
yeah,
walk-in? What is a walk-in?
yeah. Well, it literally feels like that, like a Freaky Friday moment.
Oh, I love that.
That's right. It's like, but what I did have that I didn't realize, I was like, okay, so how am I doing this if I actually am a different entity? But what I did have was no memory of my my past, except what I did have was like snapshots or pictures where I remembered like little videos from when I was a child and doing Easter egg hunts where my sister would like steal my eggs or something, right? Like I had glimpses of that information. And in fact, we believe that maybe there was two entities in me and for a while because I was, kind of living with this dormant pre-occupant almost. I know it's so weird. And I was like, I'm like a new person that's like thriving. I'm like, what are we doing? Get out of my way, this dormant person. But
Mm.
that dormant person sort of needed to be there for a little while so that I could understand some of the struggles that she really went through, some of the fight that she really had growing up. I didn't really have a lot of quote trauma like people talk about. I was just mostly depressed and thought I wasn't worth anything and I wasn't good enough and I was never going to amount to anything. And then I went from that person to literally entering and like, I'm going to change this world, knowing this information too and
Yeah.
knowing how we work as a multi-dimensional being instead of this like finite three-dimensional being that resists and reacts to everything in our life. I really became this person that is, I want to live and I want to be alive and I want to thrive. And then it became not only do I want that for myself, but I want to teach the world this. I want to teach the world how you can go into the field in meditation and truly connect and manifest with something that you really desire to pull into your world and have these conversations with the field. This has since, from that time, I've had many, many years to, evolve into who I've become today. So this is now,
Mm.
I've opened the channel to even channel the Arcturians, who has helped with these channeling messages and like codes, and it gets really weird, right? But it's helping people over and over again through me just seeking and exploring and going, hey, what is this? What is this multidimensional field that we speak of, and how can I honor this consciousness and this like deep love that's beyond words? Like, love isn't even the word, it's almost like this insane adoration that you have for all things, including your grass and your rocks. And I mean, it's just like brings up chills and tears. There's just this field that adores you so much. And instead of really receiving and accepting this beautiful field, for lack of a better word, this multidimensional field, it's really about how can we live in this and how can we get more people to live in it has been what the message has then become.
Mm.
So with the walk-in, I feel like I keep going beyond it. But really it was, first of all, I knew I didn't have a word for it, but I knew something was different. I was actually more inhabiting my body was one of the other things, like I guess embodied. I was more embodied. And then the second thing was I had, it was like there was no memory there. It was very much like snapshots, and I could recall little bites. And even today, I mean, people would like, don't you remember that? Do you remember your high school graduation? I'm like, no. I mean, I don't even remember like wearing a robe, right? Like it's like blank. Some of the things are blank, but if I've got pictures of it, then I recall. And really, I don't really care if I have nothing because there's such a beauty and such a greatness being who I am now.
Yeah.
But that was kind of the things I noticed. I was a different person. It was like, I was like, dude, this med is really taking me off. That's what I initially thought. And then
Yeah.
it was like being able to kind of capture and try to remember my life. And then I realized that was not as accessible as before. Like I mean, my brain is the same brain, so I do have some access to it, but clearly it's not significant enough for me to even withdraw. And
Yeah,
then
wow.
I think the third thing with being a walk-in was I knew things that other people didn't know. And and I knew that I would, it's almost like I knew a greater purpose, and it's unexplainable. And even at the time, I didn't know that I had a purpose to help people. I just thought that I was supposed to, work this dumb, recall job. It's like on the phone saying, "Hey, we need to replace your computer because you need a recall." I was like, had this like boring job, and was like, and didn't know where I wanted to go. I had no direction. I was like mindless. And then I woke up and then I had purpose. And that was like, it's like, how do you go in for just a surgery to get your body changed and wake up and you have a purpose? I mean, this is things that people just don't talk about. So then with some of the training, I would talk to other people about this, and I said, I don't know what happened, but am not the same person that you knew, right? Friends from, mostly family type stuff, like my husband's sister. It's like, could kind of, it's like kind of tell. It could kind of tell these things, right? Hmm. It's interesting that she didn't remember even like this conversation from a year ago. It was like, what's going on? And then, I think my husband just thought I lost my memory with the meds that they give you, because they literally
Oh,
give you
yeah.
meds during surgery. So he
Mm,
thought that I just had kind of a memory lapse. But then he then acknowledged that, wow, no, you're like changing, and you're changing fast, and you're acting completely different in a really positive way for him. The ambition level went from zero to, sky high.
mm, mm.
And that was one of the indications that we knew something was going on. So then in my seeking, I found some master healers that asked me enough questions to really uncover, okay, exact what you're saying. This is a walk-in experience. And I was like, okay, now I'm a little creeped out. So
Yeah.
that name walk-in came in about 3 or 4 years after it happened, because it's not like the entity just said, you are now a walk-in. Right?
Yeah,
It literally was like, okay, something is just weird and really off.
yeah, yeah. So can we
Yeah,
just break this down a little bit more,
sure.
Jeneth?
Hmm.
The walk-in, so it's basically the way we talk about it is we are bodies, right? We have our soul.
Hmm.
We've talked quite a bit throughout the podcast episodes about being in soul groups. So we're all part of a group and we're having this experience here, this physical experience, but we are, I'm going to say the cliche, we're a spiritual being having a physical experience.
Hmm.
The walk-in. So what you're saying, the walk-in is when another spiritual entity, you called it entity, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah,
Entity
that's
comes in. So what happens to the previous one?
well,
How
so
does it
when I
go?
met this master healer who asked enough questions to say, "Are you a walk-in?" And I said, "Yes," except I'm kind of hesitant to say that because of, I can recall some of my previous memories. I can even act that way, right? My body can feel that way if I need it to. And then he said, well, is that previous occupant still in your body? And he did this weird energy work, and that some of the work that I can now do. And he asked these bizarre questions, which was, uh, for a certain set, you can say, return from whence you came, never to return to me or this body. And in a way, that entity and that energy will leave. And it is just, and it's all based on frequency. It's all based on question. It's all based on pulling, right? So
Mm.
to speak, like energy pulling. I know it's such a weird conversation, but
Yeah, no, but you know, I'm really, really grateful to you to have this conversation because it's
yeah,
not one that you can find easily. People
no,
aren't talking about it, and yet I
nobody.
have come across this topic time and time again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to say to you earlier, I feel a lot of gratitude to you for being so open and for having this conversation and for dealing with my basic level 101 questions because there's so much going through my mind right now.
Yeah.
I'm even like, I'm kind of grieving for your previous
I
soul.
did I went through that. Like
Like,
I literally cried. When I mean this was at a time my parents were still alive. They've, passed over that rainbow bridge now. And that which is very fun because now I have ways through my hypnotherapy and my meditation background to connect with them
mm,
and really perceive them more than I think a lot of people do that live more in that 3D land.
mm,
But when that they were my biggest concern is how am I going to tell my parents this? And so my husband and I just on trips back, we just kept going, okay, so how do we communicate this or do we just kind of keep on acting as if and let them go with it? So for my mom, my mom's just intuitive, had seen ghosts in her life and she's like, there's just something different about you.
oh, so
And I
she
said,
noticed.
she noticed the first
Right.
trip back. And I said, I don't know. I just have gotten this kind of new lease on life. And I'm just feeling like a lot more ambitious. I want to write some books and I'm just going to do something different than just work my day job. And she just applauded me. It was like
Mm,
fabulous. Write the book. And I started writing this book in 2007 and it's called Seven Dragons: A Guide to a Limitless Mind. And my father even took the book and edited it and everything, and the whole story is in there. And after my mom passed in 2010, he did acknowledge it. He's like, "I am grateful you are who you are now. I am grateful that you're over those dark depressions. You scared us so much in your teen years and this, that, and the other." And he's like, I am so, so proud of you. And it was
mm,
almost became like, wow, I even got that parental thank you. And
mm,
thank you for the guidance that you're now giving people. The
mm.
first time that I did one of these interviews, I think it was about in 2008 or 2009. And he watched that and he's like, this is brave, right?
Mm,
And I was like, it's not brave, it's my purpose. I have to do this. I have to have these deeper conversations that nobody is not enough people are having. I mean, clearly now I wouldn't be who I am without the teachers before me.
mm, mm,
I needed because I would have been total chaos going, I mean, I guess I would have eventually figured it out. But if I hadn't really sought and said, how do I deal with some of this empathic stuff that's going on? How do I deal? How do I deal? Like every single day, it felt like I had to figure things out in a different way because I was operating not as like a workhorse, not as somebody who is just trying to get through the day. I was actually trying to really integrate what can I do to help myself understand this so that I'm
mm.
not dueling myself. That was one of the main things that was a topic of my book because that's when I knew that, heck, I probably have a previous occupant because they were fighting inside me. So talk about chaos that came up
Yeah.
first. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm feeling like. I'm grieving the previous one,
Yeah.
excited for you, but oh, yeah, just so
But
many
it's like, where
emotions
is
and things right
she?
now.
But I can access her now,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Now that I
Okay.
understand it more, I have understood that she is just going on and she has just chosen another body.
Right.
Hopefully
So
she's
she's now in
upgraded
someone
and
else.
become more conscious in doing so, but that's how I understand it. And it's sort of as if it's a part of my galactic family. Like she will be background and she is going through her own evolution, so to speak. So some of my
Yeah.
work's been done with Joe Dispenza, and he will take you in meditation, you meet the field, and he will ask you, like, can you come in as a whole new identity? And he'll say that previous self is just, it still exists, but it's on a timeline. I'm like, well, I must have really timeline jumped if that's my case, which I don't think it is. I think this is, right? There's no doubt in my mind that I'm not a walk-in from how they define walk-in in this reality. That is what happened. But it could have also been, if there is such thing, this is deep, if there is such thing as a multiverse, as
Yeah.
they talk about in Marvel,
Yeah.
well, I could have just timeline jumped, so far ahead that I dropped into a new identity.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
See, I love
yeah,
all this. We talk about
isn't it
parallel
fun?
lives, we talk
Yeah.
about parallel time frames and all sorts of stuff. And
Hmm.
again, juicy topics.
Yeah.
Um, yes, okay, you can still access her. So why,
Hmm.
my understanding was that a walk-in would happen because the soul has had this certain experience in the body, no longer needs it. So say they needed to only experience a particular relationship or a period of time like the childhood up to say 13 years of age or something like that. I'm just putting numbers out there. That after they've had that experience, they have evolved enough, that's all they need. Rather than dying, the walk-in comes in and that soul leaves. So then the person carries on living, but it's a different soul having the experience they needed, which maybe wasn't the 0 to 13 years or
Hmm.
whatever it was. That's kind of how I'd understood the walk-in process or concept. So the fact that you could still access your previous her,
Yeah.
yeah, but yet she might have gone on. It's like the reincarnation questions. I love
Hmm.
this. I'm like, if we reincarnate, what happens to the spirit? Because don't we live forever? And if we then go and live in a different body,
Yeah. Well, that's all
where's the
that's
spirit?
happening from my
Yeah,
understanding. She just went on and grabbed another body. But I also get that the shift was necessary for us both to grow in consciousness.
yeah, okay.
That's my understanding from her now and this was years later. I mean, like I said, this happened in 2005, so I've had years to take all this in and really integrate it to my life now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And which is why I have a degree in hypnotherapy. It's why I'm a solid meditator. It's why I study Joe Dispenza. It's why I've gone to Access Consciousness. Like everything that happened from that life-changing surgery has changed my trajectory. I would have never, that girl that was in that body before that event would have never, ever pursued any of this. Like this was like it wasn't even a thought in the world of her, right? Like why would I that like she couldn't even be in a yoga class. Like she could
yeah,
go to yoga, but she didn't want to lay in shavasana because that would, get it to be too intimate with her. And I'm just the opposite. I'm like,
yeah,
how vulnerable can I be? How open can I be to help other beautiful beings on this planet really take that step forward and say, what's going on with the chaos in my mind? What's going on with me constantly making myself wrong? What's going on with me having the sense that nobody likes me in the world, right? There's all these like paradigms of points of view that people have that they just live by every single day. And, I feel that I've been literally dropped in this body to help people live this greater way of life.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's amazing. I'm
it's,
also thinking for your husband, Jeneth.
yeah, that was the hardest of
Like
it
it,
all.
I know, like when we do these interviews, it's kind of like when you post your photos on Facebook, it's all the good stuff, it's where you are now, but I can understand there must be some journey through that. And
Yeah,
he married a particular person, right?
yep.
So for you to have changed so much, does he ever grieve
So
the older
it
version or?
it was like he kept like saying no, 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 it's just the meds, right? Because I was on some meds for a week, and I kept, kind of, I'd sleep a lot, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, I just need you to know this. I mean, that he's like, you always used to start with the same words. Like, I just need you to understand this. I just need you to know this. So he thought, he was worried and really freaking out because he thought that I had lost my memory and had short-term memory, because I almost kept saying it the same way after I'd wake up from sleeping. And so, oh gosh, I guess it was, I haven't really talked about this part of the story very often, but I guess it was probably about a month, maybe 6 weeks. And I booked some travel. I wanted to go see a speaker that talked about this, talked about mostly personal development to help you really understand more about you. Because I thought, well, I've got to try something, because I'm having this chaos in my mind and he doesn't really understand. So I had to start taking some action to figure this out. And I went to this speaker, and I wrote it off as a business event, because I said, well, I want to learn how to write. And he was a writer and wrote a book. And so I said that I was going to it for that reason. And my husband was like, okay, cool. I'm all on board for you being a more ambitious and writing a book. So then I just started to keep this a little quiet, and I just kept going to these personal development events. And then he almost was like, I'm starting to like the new Jeneth. And he said that to me because he saw me come back from these events like fired up and engaged in life and engaged in his life, and opening my eyes and looking eye to eye with him and being more vulnerable during sex and stuff like that. Right. And he would say things like, I'm starting to like this new Jeneth. And then I think that over the years, he finally accepted, oh, I think you are right, that that surgery did change you. But then it wasn't so daunting on him, because it seemed as if I was up leveling doing these personal development events, instead of like, just because it was then me, it was me. And, he was just kind of surprised that it's like, okay, well, she got a lot of confidence getting this boob job. Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So
that's
much more
almost
than you
like how he
bargained for.
acted. But, and this was years and years ago. So I don't think, I tried to keep it from him. It was just really hard on us for about 3 months. Actually, well, then we did have a little bit of a separation. And it was because I was just like going crazy,
Yeah.
from his words. I was like doing all these things. I was trying to start a business, and yeah, and I was just everywhere, and it just got to be a lot for him. But then, we came back together, and he, like, now we just really vibe together, because we found that he can do like hands-on energy healing and some really woo-y stuff. And he only can do it because he like caught it from me, right? Like
Yeah,
we
right.
do these things together, and we live like this really beautiful, intimate life because of, the ability to really step into something beyond what most people in this world step into. It's sort of like, we don't know how it works, but we know it works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it offers a lot of ease and joy in our bodies to just be able to play together in this way. And so that's kind of what today looks like, if you really dive into some of this work and really dive into what does it even, because I don't believe that you have to have a surgery or a near-death experience to connect with the field anymore.
No, no, I don't believe.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of clients do it through meditation, and they will have complete biological upgrades. One day they'll have, something going on with a part of their body, and then they work on it for 6 weeks in meditation, and then suddenly they'll get scans back, and there's these miracles that have happened.
Mm,
They don't happen like the first time you meditate. Usually it does take a little bit of time, but the
mm.
people who really work it really work it. And, you know, there's miracle after miracle, and I see it every single day. And it's just so beautiful, Kirsty. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything greater. And I know there's so many people in this world that, just wants a little bit of hope.
I'm
Yeah.
blown away by just how much has happened for you. We're talking, it's literally, I was looking at the date. I think you said
Mhm.
April 2005. So that's 20
Yeah.
years ago this month.
Yep.
Um,
I know. I marked it on my calendar because I celebrate it
yeah.
every year. And
Yeah, yeah,
every
yeah, I
year
do
I
that
think
too.
right.
Yeah.
Every year I feel like I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that with my near-death experience. I wouldn't say
Uh-huh.
celebrate it, but I'm definitely aware of it on the calendar. It's like the second
Yeah.
birthday each year. But
Yeah.
yeah, we grow together in our relationship. So 20 years is a long time to go through this and grow together and
Yeah.
understand each other and the new way of being, I suppose, the new mindset, outlook, thought processes.
Yeah.
I want to jump into a slight side topic.
Mm.
When when I think about purpose and I think about why we're here, I think around a lot of us, I believe we agree to do things before we come here, that we have set things we need to achieve in our life, not achieve, but either experience or go through, or yeah, some things we need to achieve. Do you
Mhm.
think, or I guess my question comes down to two parts. Do you think that's similar? Have you got a similar thought around that? And if so, how does this work in with your life purpose? Do you think you pre-planned the walk-in experience, or why do you think it happened?
Well, I believe that there are such things as sacred contracts. I also believe that if you have awareness to change it, you have possibility around that as well, that is possible to change in the field. I do think that I was under a sacred contract. And I I mean, it's almost like textbook, like rags to riches almost, like, in a very different way, right? Because I mean, if I hadn't have had such a miserable, depressed early life, then I wouldn't have any awareness on how to help anybody with
Mm,
depression, anxiety, and manifestation. I think is the last one because I think, people got a glimpse at the law of attraction when that came out in 2006, but I
mm,
don't think that people understood, what it really takes. And so those three things, which I feel is really my mastery, can almost help people come out of depression with hypnosis in 2 or 3 sessions. And unless they're, bipolar and don't want to change it during a session, which I have seen.
mm,
But I really feel like that's what my purpose was, more specifically that than, being able to understand the field, being able to clear entities, being able to, really, do some of the psychic mediumship. A lot
mm,
of people come to me because they are like, how do you develop that gift? And I think that some of that comes because I'm here on purpose, and
mm,
I'm
mm.
constantly just asking questions and navigating. It's like, universe, guide me. What do I need to do today? Instead of it's like, you have to do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we should always ask questions. I think that's a real
Hmm.
key part about living a big life. And,
Hmm.
big, it means so many different things. Big could be very small for some people, and the equivalent, I'm not even making sense here. Big is living within the purpose, I think, whatever that looks like.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I guess I'm still like I'm loving what you're
So
saying.
I think so. To answer your question better, I think most people's purpose on this planet is to find love, to be in joy, and to really find a life that they love to lead.
Mm,
Because how I understand it from the field is it is more of a, this is a cool conversation. So, your desires, where do those come from, right? I sense that desire in your heart comes from the field. And the field is guiding you to feel like, oh my gosh, I'd really love to travel, right? Oh my gosh, I really would love to grow organic food, whatever it is, right? When you have that desire in your heart, I believe that's sprinkled down from the field.
Mm.
And when we choose it, because we can deny it, we can fight it, but when we say yes to it, that is our purpose. And some people's purpose is just to bring more joy to their lives and others, like just have fun. And
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's what my understanding when I communicate with the field, that it's more just follow your desires. It's like what Campbell said about like follow your bliss, right? That's
Mm.
it. That's all we need to be doing every single moment of every single day. And I think so many people are like, yeah, but my bliss isn't my job, and
Mm.
they almost make their identity around their job or their
Mm.
position. And it's like, well, great. If it's not that, start somewhere that's outside of your job to find your bliss. And my ask and your request to the universe and the field that loves you so, so much is that that will guide you to your next something. But you can't just sit there in a dead end job and do nothing and
Mm.
not and just watch TV every night. I know this from life experience. That's how I lived my life. I literally just went to a job and, I mean, I should have been like the daily grind person. I just went to a job and then it's almost like I was so exhausted all weekend. I just lay around, I'd lay around, watch more TV and pick up a few things in my house. And that was my life.
Yeah, and I
And
think so many
yeah.
people can relate to that.
Yeah, too
Yeah,
many, which is what's
yeah,
sad about this planet.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So do you feel like I'm still thinking if you hadn't have gone in for the surgery, because that was elective surgery, you chose to do that.
yes,
Do you think the walk-in experience would happen regardless? Like maybe you would have an
yes. I
accident.
think
I'm
an
just throwing out that
accident.
maybe you break your leg and you have to have
Yeah.
surgery.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I almost wonder if I could have, if it could have happened during like just being unconscious, like if something would have knocked
Yeah.
me out. I have thought about that a lot. Like if I hadn't, if it although I do think everything happens for a reason, everything's
Mm,
divinely connected. So I feel like almost maybe I was called to do that and called to do it that way. It was very clear that I was going to do this. And, it's just a matter of like, pulling money from a deep in savings that I didn't want to, right? But
mm,
I was like, this will make my life better. And it did. It just
mm.
didn't. It just did in a very different way than most
Very
people would have
different.
thought, right?
Whole different
Yeah.
adventure. So,
Yeah. I mean,
okay,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go for
You're
it.
talking about how when we have promptings, you use the example of growing an organic food garden, or I can't remember the other one. When we get these
Yeah.
things, you've just explained how you believe that comes from the field, as you call it.
Hmm.
These desires, do you think the desire to go and have the surgery came from there?
I think it must have.
Like that was
I
almost like a purpose seed in your life that had grown and then,
Yeah, I do. I
yeah.
yeah, there's no doubt in my mind.
I find it
And
really cool because I feel like there's so many things in life. Like we just can't judge what's going on for other people. We can't look at stuff and go, that's right or wrong, or I wouldn't do
right,
that, or I would do that. Like I'm talking about every single thing, every
right,
choice, the car we
right.
drive, the way we conduct ourselves,
Yeah,
the way we spend our time, everything. And I know we all kind of not stress, we all kind of deal with feeling judged or what will people think or am I doing the right thing? And, it can be quite hard to make some of these choices.
yeah.
I do
That was
believe there's something behind all of the choices we make in life.
mhm. Well, that's one of the things that really changed for me too. It wasn't, I could start saying things that I couldn't say before. Like, I didn't want anybody to know, and especially my family, that I had a breast augmentation surgery, right? I mean, my husband could know, he had to know because he would have, I
You would
couldn't have
find
done it
out.
on my own, right? But I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my sister. And when I go back, I'd wear like big baggy clothes initially because I just didn't want to talk about it. I was embarrassed that I wanted that. It felt wrong in my world. And then after it did take a little bit of time for me to brush away some of that judgment, some of that wrongness. And then it became, no, you have to talk about this because this could change other people's lives.
Yeah,
And
right.
when it really became me that I have to talk about everything and I don't need any privacy because so many other people are going through these kind of journeys too, and they're making themselves wrong. They're judging themselves. I really have very, very little judgment that I have upon myself. Sometimes I'm disappointed with some of the choices I make,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like eating way too many chips at a Mexican restaurant. I kind of
Oh,
judge myself on that. I'm like, that's just too much. But
yeah.
I mean, if that's all that there is, those darts though that people, feel often where people are just judging me or they just feel like they're being looked at. I don't have any of that. And that started going away really fast. Like that shed off. And then when we removed that previous occupant, there wasn't any of that left. There, and to the degree that I could have pretty much like walked down the neighborhood naked. I mean, that is very much how I am today. I don't get hurt by judgment. That's just kind of some of the evolution that has happened. And the only time there's really judgment is when I'm judging myself on doing something that maybe wasn't for my highest good.
Yeah, yeah, because I can
Right.
find I can be my harshest critic. I can
Yeah.
judge myself more than other people are around me. And I don't actually understand
Mhm.
that sometimes. I think it's so validated and it's so justified for me to judge and judge. And
Yeah.
yeah, that is definitely something I experience. For
Yeah.
people listening, myself also, but people listening who maybe don't have the freedom that you have in that, how do you, is it something we need to get rid of?
Judgment.
Yeah, or
I
self-judgment,
I
or
think that it's yeah, I from
how
what
do we
I've
do it?
found with my clients over time, it's really just taking the love back on you. When you find yourself doing it, some of the shifts are just, and I have clearing words and things. We can do a few of them, but like how much, it kind of goes something like this. How many judgments have you put upon yourself just today?
Oh, loads.
Yeah, a lot of people come up with a lot. And then I'll be like, okay, let's just pull up all that energy, everything that is. Would you be willing to destroy and then create those energies? And that's, some of the ways, and we just keep doing them, doing them, doing them. And then eventually, I think the synapses in your brain, they just say, okay, I'll rewire.
Okay.
Yeah, but these are questions that nobody asks. And I think that, I mean, nobody says, how many judgments have you had just today? People don't ask that question. So the energy never comes up to be cleared. And it is energy. Like Joe Dispenza says, emotions are energy in motion.
Yeah, yeah, I
Feelings
like that.
now are often static feelings, but if you think about a feeling, especially like sadness, like it bubbles up and it comes out our eyes and we cry, right? There's like these different ways that, and I used to think like I never really even thought about it back in the day that emotions are different than feelings. A feeling, can be a really vibrant feeling. It can also be frustration or anger. And an emotion can fall into the category of anger, but I really think of emotion as it's more of a moving energy, like the expression of anger, right? Instead of
Yeah.
like just a feeling of it sitting there. Depression is a feeling, not an emotion, right? So when you can separate these two things, you go, wow. And isn't that freaking cool that our bodies have chemical responses when we feel something. It has a chemical response when we have an emotion, and we have the power to choose and change any of them. And now the new science with epigenetics is coming out. I just get so excited about this. And they've shown studies where people who just laugh 20 minutes a day change like
Yeah.
thousands of
Uh-huh.
genes, right?
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
just like really freaking cool. And when we really get a handle on, wait, I don't have to feel this feeling. If you feel rejected, right? I mean, that's definitely not an emotion, rejection, but that is your choice to feel that feeling. You blame the other person in human reality, but in a fifth dimensional world, that's your choice. And it's literally just a couple questions away to change it. And so that's like just something I just love, love, love about this work is we are so malleable, so changeable. They used to think that heredity genes like really, really mattered. It's like, okay, did your mom have breast cancer? Okay, check. Well, then kind of like you're doomed. Like that's what it used to be in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
And now it's like there's only about like 3 to 5% of people that actually have something that's truly genetically unchangeable.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
wondering if they're going to find out it's even more. It's really about the environment, you know. It's
Oh,
like,
look, it totally could
woman.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do believe we can change our future. I believe all of our
Yeah.
actions, cause and effect, all of our actions today are building tomorrow. All of our thoughts, our process, our beliefs, everything today
Yeah.
is the building blocks of our tomorrow.
Right.
And so you've talked a lot about reprogramming and changing the way that we think about things and letting go of some of these yucky things. And that's something that I think does work is to actually
Yeah.
question the feeling or the emotion. Now I'm thinking, which one is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be really helpful to check that as it comes up. But
Yeah.
actually, we don't have to hang on to it because something happened to me. I think it was just yesterday actually, and I took it a little personally. And then I was holding it, and I was like, "Oh, that kind of annoys me." And then I was like, "No, actually, I don't need to hold this. I can just let it go." And I did. And then I just literally felt so much better because I'd made a choice to let go of it. And it's
Yeah.
such a small, small thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so reprogramming and retraining the way that we hold on to emotions or thoughts, or I love the laughter piece. I'm a big laughter fan.
Yeah.
I
I
love laughter. Oh my, there's
don't you
nothing
think?
like a big belly laugh, eh?
I know. Well, I feel like all my transformation happens mostly when I get people laughing.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I run this little talk show. It's live, and it's just like a joke after joke after joke. It's like, how stupid are we, to
Oh,
be
I know,
living
I know,
life that way, right?
I know.
And most people think in personal development, you've got to go through the tears and they're like, you're crying out this onion. And when I don't perceive it that way at all, to me, it's like every single one of these things we've kind of invented
Mm.
from our past lives. I've done a lot of past life regression session as a hypnotherapy
Oh, so cool.
therapist, and we do bring over stuff, but I think most of it gets brought over in a tiny, tiny bit, and then we take it and then we make choices. We felt rejected or we felt unloved one moment in our life. It might have been, your mom told you got to stay in that crib longer. And then your little brain that's in a theta brainwave state when you're that young just makes a conclusion that they don't like me or they don't love me or something like that. And then
Yeah.
you just keep living upon that lie after lie after lie. And then finally you get to the point that's like, why do I think I'm unlovable? And you actually ask a question about it. What would it take for me to be truly lovable? Do I even love myself? When you ask questions like that, then you can make another choice. And it might not change that instant. Some of them can, like you're let it go right there, that example.
Yeah.
You changed it like that.
Yeah, yeah. And we do
Yeah,
have the ability to do it. We can do
right.
it. Yeah.
Right.
It's just remembering in
Yeah.
the time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I know we make it sound so much easier than it is in reality, but I think there's
Yeah.
hope
Well,
for all of
sometimes
us.
it is that easy. I've had moments that I'm like, why am I even like bothered by this?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's a good
yeah.
question to ask.
Hmm. Yeah, and it can be that simple. And I mean, I work on this every single day with clients. So, you can't almost not work on it with yourself, right? You've
Yeah.
got to go,
Yeah.
okay, why
Yeah.
am I making this choice? And how is this contributing to something greater?
Oh,
Yeah,
look, I really love it. Jeneth,
that's
you've been
great.
so, so interesting to talk to. I'm so grateful, like I said earlier, that you've been open to this conversation.
Well, thank you.
It's just so interesting. I feel like we almost need to have you back on for a whole
Right.
new conversation. I mean, we haven't even talked
We can
about
go
half the stuff.
anywhere with this,
I
right?
know, like
I
this
mean, I've
much
got
of
20
the,
years
I know,
and
and
it's
like then you just
constant.
drop in there. Oh, and I do past life regression with clients, and I'm like, oh, we need
Mhm.
to talk past lives because that's one of my other
Oh,
favorite topics.
yes. Uh-huh.
So perhaps we need to get you back on, but
Yeah, let's go down
you've
that rabbit
talked
hole.
you've talked about working with clients, and I know that listeners are going to be thinking, "Oh, tell me more about that." So just tell us a little bit more. Why would someone come to you as a client, and what does that look like? What are you offering?
Yeah, well, I have many self-hypnosis audios that you guys can indulge in, right? They're like $22 a pop. But what I have on other hypnotherapists uh, is a whole nother training. For example, right? Like, yes, I'm a hypnotherapist. Yes, I'm an NLP practitioner. I've been a seeker, but I really understand in every single one of my fifth dimensional hypnotherapy sessions, we go into the field. And that is my work, is to train people how to connect to the field. So I've got hypnotherapies, I've got a manifestation course and things like that to teach people how to drop into meditation and truly connect with the field. And it's hard to explain, how do we hit coherence, but I have a method of breath work, I have a method of mantra, and then I have a method of relaxing the body that literally gets people to connect with the field. I also do this weird hands-on energy work that I can often do not necessarily with a body in front of me. I can do it fifth dimensionally. Like, these are just gifts that all humans can have that I've grown over time because I keep seeking this work. I keep, going after it. So that's some of I mean, talk about, we can have a really deep conversation in almost any direction because
Mm,
I am like a life seeker, but a dreamer too. So that would be one reason that you might want to choose to do a regression therapy session with me versus
mm,
somebody else. I mean, I'm not really here to sell things to you as much as I want you guys to know that it's just a choice away to have this deeper, more vibrant life.
yeah.
But there's a lot of different ways to engage with me. I run a talk show. It's live every Tuesday and Thursday. It's called the Hout Hustle, HAUTE hustle.com. I also have my main hypnotherapy site at jeneth.com. On the top right hand corner, you can try out a free hypnosis. If you're not sure, you can try that out. We also sell like frequencies. I've worked with a sound engineer to sell these frequencies to, just really make people live. They're cheap too. It's like $8. And if you
Yeah.
want to just kind of meet the field with some frequencies, you can find that at howhustle.com.
Oh,
So
so cool,
there's all the
Jeneth.
information, probably way more than you thought you were going to get
No,
asking me
no,
that
that's
question.
okay. That's okay. We are putting the links, well, I'll put the links to all of that down in the show notes, so check that out. I'm just overfilled with gratitude for you, Jeneth, for
Well,
everything
thank
you've been
you
through.
so much for having me on. I feel like it's so
Yeah.
important for me to keep getting this message out there.
Oh, definitely. And it's such an interesting conversation. So, Jeneth Blackert, thank you so much.
Thank you.